Hello, I'm Jess from Studio Ballet Evolution. Thank you so much for joining me here today. So today is our second follow along ballet class for beginners. I do hope you had a chance to do the first video because this one will be building on the information we learned and the exercises we learned in the first video. Also as well, please be very careful because you're at home and I'm not there to correct you. I want you to be really careful. If ever you feel any strain, anything, please just make sure that you check your alignment and that you are very careful. Thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. So before we jump into the exercises, I just want to review a few very important things. So it's really important to work with our own turnout. And our turnout can vary. It can change depending on the weather, how we slept, what we ate, lots of different factors. So please don't force anything. We want to make sure that we always have the knee and toes tracking in line. Sometimes people turn out from the ankle, and that's really dangerous for the kneecap. So you want to make sure when you do your first position that when you do your plie, that your knees are tracking over the toes, that your toe is not behind, your toes aren't behind your knees. So really, really important. I've discussed this in previous videos, how we want to move from the back of the body first. So you're first activating the hamstrings, you're feeling this, and then you're doing a spiral from the back. So we're doing this from the hamstring and then spiraling the legs out. So really, really important. The other thing I want you to really focus on are those headlights. We've talked about that before. You don't want them going this way, that way, down, or up. You want them straight ahead. So let's go ahead and do our plie exercise. Let's go ahead and do our demi-plie exercise. Please feel free to have your hand on your hip if you want to really focus on the alignment of the pelvis, the knees, and the toes. You can always have your hand on your hip. Please make sure that your elbow is going towards the corner. If it's going here, it changes our whole alignment. Here we go. So your first position, I'm doing a little bit more open, but please make sure that you are following your position with your knees over your toes. We're going to do a beautiful breath. So first I feel the soles of my feet melting and as if I have water absorbing, coming up and out of my head. Here we go. So we do that beautiful breath with that fountain, and the fountain just keeps circling. So it goes out and reabsorbs and comes out again. So we're constantly lengthening through that spine. Here we go. Beautiful demi-plie in first. Watching those knees, tracking over the toes, and that beautiful feeling of the spiral coming up, melting from the bottoms of our feet. Arm to first. You don't have to have your arm in first if you're not comfortable. Nice and wide, as if we're like trying to be as flat as possible. Good. Coming up. And the arm goes forward as if you're sprinkling petals, rose petals on the floor. We don't want the arm to come back. Elbow nice and held. We're going to do a beautiful bat montani to the side. Keep those headlights forward. Keep your leg in your second position, right? We don't want to change our hips. Lowering down and a beautiful allongé, palm towards the floor, lengthening through that spine, and a demi-plie. Good, a demi-plie is not very low. Make sure your knees are over your toes. You should never feel any discomfort in your knees. Arm to first, here we go. Lengthening through the spine, my elbow is nice and held. Coming up and sprinkling those flowers. Very good, elbow up. Now, we're going to transfer weight. I don't lift the hip, I let my toes slide out slightly. Good. Coming into a first position and then into a third. Make sure your headlights are forward. Allongé. Lengthening through the spine. To bras bas. Demi-plie. Very good, very soft. Good. And arm in first. One more demi-plie. Nice and wide in the front of the chest and in the back. Coming up and opening that arm to second. Good, we're going to do a little port de bras forward. So when I go forward, I'm lifting up and imagine a string pulling your head forward. We're just going to go a little bit. You can also bend your knees. Make sure we're not sinking in the lower back. Here we go. So you go a little bit, come back. Good, arm up to third. Opening that arm to second, watch that elbow, make sure it goes to the back of the room. And to finish, finish. Facing your bar or your chair, the countertop, nice and wide in the back, wide in the front, and I want you to feel that your chest is going forward with your shoulder blades. Head towards the camera. We're lifting up through the waist as we do a little cambrai back. So I'm not sinking in my lower back, I'm lifting up. Very nice, as if a string is pulling my head, so the cervical spine is nice and long, and a little release. Fantastic, let's go ahead and do the other side. Here we go on the left side, so that beautiful breath, lengthening up. Inhale and exhale. Very good to bras. Like I said, you can always have your hand on your hip. Here we go, demi-plie in first. All those things we did on the other side, we're gonna do on this side. And we wanna feel our hand is in front of our shoulder at the bar. Never back there, because it changes our alignment. So nice and in front, and arm in first. And a beautiful demi-plie, knees tracking over those toes, coming up, and offering the arm. So it goes forward. Very good. We're going to do our battement tendu to the side. Keep that left hip forward. Don't let it pull back. Headlights forward, through the floor, and lowering down. Good. It should be about just a little bit wider than your shoulders and hips. Here we go. Beautiful allongé. Allongé, the palm goes towards the floor. Bringing it to what we call bras. And here we go. Demi-plie, lengthening through that spine. And good, coming up. Please feel so good. They're a great way to warm up. They get the blood circulating. It's really good for our hip socket. And coming up. Good. Can actually help remove scar tissue from the hip socket, that kind of emotion, and it's very gentle. Here we go. Demi-point. Remember, keeping those headlights forward, and we're going to pass through first position, watching that elbow into third. So a third, you might want your third more like this. I was a little more crossed. You want to have your two heels in line. Allongé, lengthening through that spine. Very good. Demi-plie. So you'll see you can't go as low in a third. Don't force it and go too low and do that, right? So we only go as low as our bodies allow us to go. Good, coming up. Arm in first. Beautiful demi-plie. So you're not thinking of going low, you're thinking of going wide. So you want to be as wide as possible. Sprinkling those beautiful petals. Good, here we go for a port de bras forward. We lift up, lengthen through the spine. Beautiful breath in. Inhale, and we lengthen through that spine. Slide your hand at the bar of the chair. Good. Coming up, lengthening through that spine, using your core muscles. Ballet is really great for gaining core strength. Opening that arm to second. Good. And facing the bar, sixth position. Really lifting up through the waist. Head towards me. Inhale, exhale, and feel that you're going forward and your feet are melting into the floor. So this should stay really straight and lengthened, as if a string is pulling you up. Good, coming back, and a nice release. So before we go ahead and do our battement tendu exercise, I want to give you two options. So you have the option of doing the exercise in first position like we did in the previous video, or if you feel ready and you'd like a bit of a challenge, I'm going to be demonstrating in third position the battement tendu. So front and back, it isn't as tricky, but to the side, it can be very confusing. Do I close front? Do I close back? How do I know? So there is a trick. When we're doing an even number, and if we know we want to end to the back, we are always going to close front first. I will show you in 1 second. And when we're doing an odd number, you want to close back first. So in this exercise, we're going to be doing an even number. We're going to be doing 2 battement tendus when I demonstrate with the music. So the tricky thing is to know your second. You want to have those headlights forward, and I'm always telling everyone, the supporting leg is the dominant leg. The working leg has to listen to the supporting leg. If the working leg takes over, do you see that twisting and pulling on my knee, my ankle, and my back? That's how we can get hurt. So we want to make sure that the working leg listens to how much flexibility, mobility I have in the hips. It has to adjust to this leg, not the opposite. So when we're doing our battement tendus to the side, I'll just put my hand on my hip. When I go to the front, it's not so bad. But as beginners, I find this happens often when we close to the back. People want to open the second time. They want to open back here. And that's not our second, right? Our second is in the front diagonal. So we have to actually travel the leg further when we are coming from the back. So today we're going to be doing the exercise en croix. En croix means we're going to do all of the tendus to the front, to the side, to the back, and then again to the side. So you're going to be practicing doing your third position front and then back, and then when we come back, you're going to be going from the back. You're going to close back first and open side, but make sure you go to your second, that you don't let that leg pull back. You should never feel any discomfort in your knee. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Here we go. Today, because this is a little more advanced, I recommend you have your hand on your hips so you can really focus on your alignment on those legs. So here we go. Your third position, right? Not too open. We're going to do 2 battement tendus to the front, and I'm brushing from under the floor, sole of the foot. I'm lifting where the glute and hamstring meets on both legs. I feel that little fire under me, and I'm lifting up through the spine. It is not easy. Just do your best. Here we go. Battement tendu to the front. Feel those beautiful spirals moving from the sole of the foot. Good. And a beautiful demi-plie. Nice and wide. Knees tracking over the toes. Lengthening through that spine. Here we go to the side. We're doing 2, so we're going to close front first. Battement tendu to the side. Your second. First position if we can, closing into third front. We're going to do 1 more. Battement tendu to the side. Keep those headlights forward. And lifting up through the spine, nice and long. Good, closing to the back. Don't let your body twist. Keep your headlights forward. And to the back. We talked about this in the previous video. Go with your turnout. Keep your hips square. If you need to be more parallel, you go more parallel, or if you need your leg a little more to the side, that's fine. Coming back in. Keep those headlights forward though. Don't let your headlights go on a diagonal. Lengthening, lifting up through the abdominals. Feel those spirals. Here we go, we're almost done. Good work. Demi-plie. And to finish, 2 to the side. Battement, remember we talked about that. Go to your diagonal. Closing back first, passing through first if you can. Good, and 1 more. Closing in to third, and a beautiful demi-plie. Make sure your headlights are forward. Here we go, and your hand in front of you at the bar. Going through that beautiful battement tendu, massaging the floor from underneath the sole of your foot, and we want to lift up. Make sure you really lift under that glute and hamstring on the supporting leg. Often at first, we feel that one leg is too long and that we have to bend it. We don't want to bend that leg. We want to go under the floor, heel under the floor. It takes a lot of core strength to do that. So it's okay if you're struggling at first and you find it hard. Just keep working at it and you will get it. Headlights forward, battement tendu to the side, closing front. Feel those spirals, your second position. And we want to lift under that supporting leg. Lift, 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 lift up in your abdominals to make sure you have room to bring that leg in. Good, and again, elbow to the corner, right? We don't let it sink back. Very nice, and as we close, first position, lifting, lifting, lifting. Good work. Beginner ballet classes are really a challenge because we work so slowly. We get so strong. I love doing beginner ballet classes myself. I make sure I do one at least once a week. Good. Headlights forward, like we talked about. You can lose a little bit of turnout, but don't lose that hip. Coming in, lifting, lifting, lifting up. Good. You're going to be so strong. If you do these exercises, you will be amazed at how much stronger your core is. Your posture is going to look so beautiful and graceful. It's worth it. Demi-plie. And straightening up. Here we go. Make sure you keep that hip forward, right? We said go to your diagonal. And when you close back, keep that left hip forward. Don't pull it back. One more to the side. We've got this. Good. Lift, 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 lift. And close. Demi-plie. And stretch. So like I said, it is totally normal if at first you feel like one leg is too long. A lot of my students will tell me that when they first start. I work a lot with beginner adults. And with time, they're able to get the legs in. So it's really a question of core strength, placement, and that supporting leg, that lift. Because if I'm sinking on my supporting leg, do you see how this one's way too long? I can't get it in. So I need to feel my heel. We call that the plumb line, your nose, belly button, and heel. We want that to be in line and lifting up. And then I have room. That leg doesn't feel too long. But if I'm sinking, then I have to bend my leg to bring it in. Great, let's move on to our jetés, and we're gonna learn piqués today. So for this exercise, we're gonna go back to a first position, and once again, we're gonna have our hand on our hip because we are gonna learn something new today. So we're gonna do our jetés, battement tendu jetés that we did in the previous video, but I'm gonna add a piqué. So a piqué is a very interesting movement. I like to think of it like the floor is really, really hot and you don't want to touch the floor. The leg has to stay in that jeté feeling, right? A jeté is like an arrow flying. So it isn't tense, but it's very dynamic, it's very strong. Same thing when I do my piqué. I'm touching the floor and I'm coming back. Touching I do my jeté out, my battement tendu, and I touch the floor and I bring it back. We don't want to move our hips. So if you find it too much, you don't have to do it. If you want to go ahead and try it, we want to try to move from the sole of the foot. If I move from the top of my foot, I might do some funny things. So we want to be, once again, like I talked about previously, using the inner thighs, using all the back of the leg and the rotation, and then it's the sole of my foot is what's like a string, lifting it up and down from the bottom of my foot. Here we go, hand on the hip. We're gonna do two battement tendu jetés. Second one, little piqué, close. Beautiful demi-plie, knees over the toes. Keep those hips square. To your second, jeté, close. Long in the spine, piqué, close. Beautiful plie, demi-plie. To the back, remember, keep your hips square. Jeté, close. Battement, jeté, piqué, close, plie. To the side, jeté, close, jeté, piqué, close, demi-plie. Fantastic. So when I go to the back, I want to imagine that my hamstrings, like there's a string pulling me from my hamstrings, and I'm really lifting up in my abdominals. Here we go to the left. Nice lengthened spine. Good. Battement tendu jeté, piqué. Lifting through the hips. Nice. Knees over the toes. Here we go to the side. Your second, leg not too high. Jeté, piqué. Closing in. Demi-plie. Good to the back. Keep those hips square. Lengthening. Remember that little fire under the glutes and the hamstring. Piqué. Close. Demi-plie. To the side. Last one. Jeté. And close. Battement tendu jeté. Piqué. Close. And a beautiful demi-plie. We're going to go ahead and do our rond de jambe exercise. I just wanted to go over a few things because we are going to be doing a rond de jambe en dehors and en dedans today. So I just wanted to review that before I put on the music. So en dehors means that we are going away from the supporting side and leg. So whenever we do anything, whether it's a pirouette, a rond de jambe, if it is en dehors, it means you're going away from your center line and from your supporting leg. En dedans means you're coming in towards. So we're going to take a look at that. So most important are those hips and shoulders to stay in line. So you're going to adjust your leg. So when we do our battement tendu to the front, this is part of the rond de jambe. What's most important is that I keep my right hip forward. I don't let it pull back, and I keep spiraling that supporting leg. I feel that little fire underneath me, and then this one is also rotating. I go to the back. When I can't keep this hip square anymore, I let the turnout go a little bit. That is something with time you will keep growing. But if we don't have square hips, we don't have a foundation. So if I'm all like this, I'm never gonna do it well, and I'm gonna have knee pain, ankle pain, and back pain. So if we do ballet properly, we should never have pain. If we do it incorrectly, we can get injured. So it's so important. That's why I'm so careful about technique and being really, really precise, because we don't wanna hurt ourselves. Now, en dedans is the opposite. I'm starting from the back. I keep my right hip forward, and you keep your turn. If you can't keep a full turn up, a little bit less turned out, keep that right hip, and then as you feel like you can, with that hip forward, you rotate the leg. So it's so important to work with your body. We are works in progress. Nobody is perfect. So just do your best, and like I said, it really helps to be in front of a mirror. Let's go ahead and do the exercise. Here we go. So for today, let's keep our hand on our hip, elbow facing the diagonal. Here we go. We're going to do 2 rond de jambes en dos. So I feel like a string lengthening my spine, and it's like I'm opening those French doors, spiraling both legs. Here we go to the side. And if you need to, you let it turn in a little bit to the back, but keep those hips square. Coming into first. One more. I'm going to do with my full turnout this time. Feeling that rotation, so as I go to the back, I'm going to keep it, but make sure you keep your hips forward. Feeling the hamstrings lengthening, good, and a beautiful demi-plie. So demi-plies are something we do all the time in class. I love them. Here we go to the back, lengthening through the spine. Feel that beautiful spiral on that supporting side, and keep that right hip square. Lifting through the waist, coming into first. That little fly, remember we talked about making sure that the leg doesn't feel too long. You have to lift under those glutes. Ballet makes you so strong. One last one. Good. Into first. And a beautiful demi-plie. And here we go on the left side. Remember to breathe. So important. I always have to remind my students when they're first time, don't forget to breathe. Inhale, keep that left hip forward as we do our beautiful rond de jambe to the back, and the hamstring is helping me bring my leg back. And I'm spiraling using the soles of my feet, and I'm lengthening through my spine. Hips stay square. So like I talked about, don't force your turnout. Good, demi-plie, your demi-plie. Knees over the toes, lengthening, big breath. And inhale. Good, going around. Keep those hips square. Fantastic, we're almost done. Lifting up through the waist, through the transverse. Use your muscles under the glutes. And the hamstrings where it meets. Good, coming back in. And a nice, very soft plie. For the last 2 exercises, we're going to keep our bar this way, or your chair. So we're going to practice our fondus like we did in the previous class, but we're going to add fondus to the side. In the next I'll follow along class, I'll add to the back, which I think is a little bit more difficult. So for today we're going to do fondus front and side. So like I mentioned in the previous video, we really want to work on our coup de pied. Coup de pied is so important. We use it. It's part of a pirouette. It's part of our développé. So many things pass through a coup de pied. So we want to really understand how to do it. So I'm not just bringing my leg in. I'm from the sole of my foot. I've talked about that before, right? That we want to point our feet and move from the bottom of our feet. So I'm moving the sole of my foot in, and it should be in line. So my heel should be in line with the bony part of your ankle. So if I do it sideways, if I'm in third position, I bring it in. Do you see I've slid my foot inwards? We always want the heel to be facing out. I don't want to have the heel in, that I'm doing what we call sickling, and I'm losing my turnout, and we can get hurt, right? So we want to always have that leg sliding in to a demi-point. You're close to that bone, and then you just scoop your toes under from the sole of the foot, and it should be touching that little bone. And we want to, as much as we can, to have the heel going forward. It takes time. At first it's a little difficult, so don't force anything, just do your best. So that's the coup de pied, and when we come back down, I slide my toes out, sole of the foot, back to third position. So we're going to be doing our fondus. I will show you before I put on the music. So we're doing our coup de pied, then I do a beautiful wide plie. So plie is not about going low. Doesn't matter how low I go, I don't want to do that. I want to go wide, right? We're trying to be like a piece of paper, flat, or like I like to think of it like a plus sign. Flat and really long. So when I do that preparation, my knees are going towards my pinkies, right? I'm really opening, and we're gonna go to the floor again today. So this coordination is tricky. My working leg has a lot further to travel, so it starts opening about 3/4, and then I straighten both legs. Same thing when I come back. This one only has that to do. This one has all this to do. So when I come back, I start with the working leg, and I feel that my knee is going to the side. I'm lifting in my abdominals. I feel that little fire under me, and I do my demi-plie, and I come back. I will show you to the side, and then we're gonna try it with the music. So really important when you go to the side, work with your turnout. Don't try to open your leg too far to the back. Don't let this right hip move. So you can even have a hand there. If you feel stable enough to have one hand on the bar, you can do your coup de pied, plie, and remember I talked about always the back of the legs, the hamstring, and then my inner thigh rotating, my calf that's opening with the sole of my foot. So I'm keeping my hips very square. I'm not doing that, right? We talked about how dangerous that is, that spiral. And when I come back, this one has to start nice long back, plie, and come in. Let's go try it with the music. Here we go. So we're just gonna practice that coup de pied before we do it with the fondu. So just one beautiful coup de pied, lengthening through the spine, and then feel the sole of your foot melting back down. Now let's try one fondu to the front and one to the side. Here we go. Beautiful coup de pied. Feel that little ankle bone. Plie wide in the knees, and then start opening with the working leg. And when we get to about 3/4, both legs straighten. Very nice. Now remember, lifting in the pelvis, keep those headlights forward as you do your fondu, coming back in and lowering to the floor. Very nice. Now we're going to try to the side. If it's too much, go back and do another one to the front if you're not sure. Demi-plie, beautiful fondu, and opening that right leg and straightening. That's what's tricky, is that coordination. And bringing it back in, finishing both of the plie and under the floor. Let's do the left side. So we're doing that beautiful coup de pied, sliding from the sole of the foot, touching the ankle bone, and sliding back down. And I feel that feeling of that fountain, right? That feeling of lengthening through the spine, that beautiful ballet posture. To that coup de pied, we bend our knees. My supporting knee is trying to go towards my pinky, so I'm never letting that knee go forward, right? Over the toes, start opening the left leg, straighten them together, really wide in the body, nice and tall, and we come back. Hips are nice and square, keep those headlights, and lowering to the floor. Good, one more. To the side, same thing, beautiful coup de pied. Demi-plie into our fondu. Here we go. Opening to the side. Keep those hips square. Don't let it go. Better to be there than to be over here, right? And we come back. Good. And remember to breathe. So to finish our class today, we're going to learn releves in 6th position. So I have our cat's cat toys. You want something that's soft, like a little ball. It can be a cat toy, dog toy, or you can go to the dollar store and just grab any soft ball, nothing too hard. And it really helps with our alignment. So we're gonna put it between our ankles, and we're going to try to squeeze it. And like I mentioned, it's really good to practice in front of a mirror. It is not to judge ourselves. It is to be there to observe and to see if what we feel is what we're actually doing. Because sometimes we think we're doing something and we're not, or maybe we're doing it beautifully and we'd love to be able to see it, right? So we're just gonna finish with releving up. So I'm squeezing that cat toy between my ankles. You can even have it a little bit lower if you want. The goal is to not let it do this, because when we're in ballet, we don't want to be going to our pinkies. Our big toe and second toe are the strongest toes in the body. So when we're doing a releve, we want to make sure we're distributing most of the weight there. Also too, when we go up, it's not so much about the feet when we do a releve. Even point work, it's mostly about our core strength, our hips, and that lifting up and out of our legs. So that way you won't get cramping or feel like your calves are really tense. So I'm going to do it sideways. So important when we do a releve that I have my shoulders behind my hips, right? I'm not here, I'm not there. Nice neutral posture. And you can imagine you have, the ceiling is here, or the ceiling is up here, and you're trying to touch the ceiling as you go up. So you're really lengthening through the spine. I'm keeping my legs straight. What's really important is not to push your kneecaps back. We want to feel that the quads are lifting, hamstrings, and a little fire underneath us. So let's go ahead, I won't put music. Let's just try 4 of those. So here we go. We're going to do a releve up, squeezing. So you should feel all these muscles working on the outsides of the legs too. Lifting up through abdominals, keeping those car headlights, that beautiful fountain. 2. We've got 2 more to do. If it's too much, you stop. And 3. Squeezing that toy. And the last one, up and lower. Beautiful. Let's just do a quick calf stretch. I hope you enjoyed this class and found it helpful. I will be posting more classes, follow-along classes of different levels. So please stay tuned, and thank you so much for joining me today.